Hello, fight fans. This is Kenny B from the official call with his co-host, Robert Bird, known as the Birdman. And we got a very special guest with us. He's known as AK or Akin Barak, the ring champs. And my brother, we welcome you to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, watching you guys over the years it's surreal. Like I mean, so many fights that I've witnessed, that I've had so many questions for. Kenny, you and I, we spoke in Canastota, which was a great conversation. Actually, everybody's going crazy about that conversation right now. The engagement is crazy. So I'm glad you guys asked me to be on the show, man. I go by the name of Ak. You know, my name is Akin, but for the last 20 years, people know me as Ak.
Yes.
And yeah, you know, from The Zone, we hosted the Zone boxing show for years there, Sirius XM radio, working on live broadcasts, calling fights, all of the things boxing, man. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Doing a little homework as we do, I always like to start out at the beginning. We know that you love the sport of boxing.
Absolutely.
And you was in the amateurs. And just kind of take us through, I believe your father was the influencer in getting you started in the amateur program.
Yeah, man. I mean, my brother and I were involved in the sport since we were 5 years old. He brought us to the gym first. We grew up in Brooklyn, New York. You know, my father loved the sport of boxing. He boxed as an amateur, but never really went far. So he had a dream of his kids being world champions. So, you know, we started training at Gleason's gym. First, you started at a recreation place in Red Hook, and then we moved on to Gleason. So yeah, I fought 75 amateur fights from the age of 8 until around 15. My brother, who's 2 years younger than me, he went on to be a national champion in the amateurs and he signed a contract with Don King at 17 years old, professional contract. So he was with Don for 4 years, and you know he was an underachiever. He was very skilled, but wasn't disciplined in some regard when it comes to weight in between fights and all of that. But nevertheless, you know, we lived in the gym. You know, we were there all day long, every day in the summer. So yeah, credit to my father, who I lost in October, unfortunately. I'm very close, my best friend and the person that introduced me to the sport. And he was definitely proud of me before, you know, he left this existence. So, but I'm still struggling with that loss, to be honest with you guys.
Yeah. I'd like to offer my condolences too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I viewed a short clip, and I was in agreement with you that on your show when you met with Zab Judah, and there was quite a few guys came out of Brooklyn.
Oh yeah. Tyson, obviously, Riddick Bowe.
Quite a few. Zab Judah, obviously. Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
A bunch of them came out of Brooklyn. So
Riddick Bowe.
Yes.
Shannon Briggs. A lot.
Yeah. And the thing that struck me though, and I can definitely identify with it, is you said that it was better, it was easier for you because you were part of that culture. Okay, when you someone, you live the same life pretty much they've lived. You lived on the same streets. You've gone to, you know, the same stores and all of that. It really helps you in terms of credibility, establishing credibility and alliances with people, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, I mean, that's what Barak and I thrive off of, like being a part of a certain community and not necessarily coming from, you know, kind of a cookie cutter background where you go to school for broadcasting. No disrespect to those people that took the traditional route, because there are a lot of great broadcasters and analysts that have taken that traditional route who are great, and I respect. But what we took pride in was, I did go to those same gyms. I know what it is for my nose to be broken. I know what it is to get the wind knocked. I know what it is to get the wind knocked out of me and not be able to breathe from a body shot, right? I know what it is to run around Prospect Park 2 times 6 miles as a little kid. And I'm from those same neighborhoods, going to the bodega, buying a 50-cent soda. So I can relate to those fighters. So to your point, it's when they sit down and talk to us, it's a different type of conversation because of that.
Right. And you had 70 amateur fights back in the day. So apparently you was doing pretty good. I mean, 70 fights.
75 amateur fights. I mean, I started competing at 8. Yeah, and I won the regionals, the Junior Olympics here, then went to the Lake Placid, won the regionals there. Then I went to Puerto Rico and fought about 30, 40 amateur fights there. So I think what with me was when I turned 15, when I was 14, I fell in love with the game of basketball. And I got pretty good at it, and I had dreams of playing Division I basketball, which, that's when my father and I clashed, because he had his visions of us, of what we should be. And I was rebellious because I was like, well, maybe I don't want to box anymore. Maybe I want to play basketball. Sometimes I live with that regret because I think I should have kept going, but it was something that I regret, a moment in time with my father and I that I regret having that tension with him. Obviously, considering what has happened lately, there's so many things I want to say to him now about how right he was. And he would tell me, sometimes parents are they know better than we do. He said, listen, you're not going to be taller than 5'11". You're good, but you're not that good. You're never going to go to the NBA. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But when you're 15, you think you know it all. You know what I mean? And you don't. So in retrospect, I understood why my father was so rough and why he was saying what he was saying. But at the time, that's what kind of disconnected me from the sport and why I didn't pursue it. My brother kept doing it, and he went on, to do great things. So that was disconnect. But I love the sport of boxing. And to be honest with you, Kenny, I had lived with a void in my life for many years after that time. From the age of 15 moving on, I would watch fights. I would speak about boxing, but I had I had this emptiness where I knew I wanted to be involved somehow, even not as a fighter. But I lived with that for for 15 years before anything ever happened in this business. Yeah.
Right. So you left boxing, and at that point you decided to get into a little modeling, a little acting. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, when I was 19, I got scouted in the city from a modeling agency, and I started to, I was in great shape, and I started doing a lot of print work. I was in a lot of magazines. I did a couple of commercials. So I always had a thing for acting. That was my passion. But there was a role that I went to read for. It was a long story. I was so close in getting this role for an HBO series at 20 years old, and I didn't get it because the executive producer and the writer of the project had passed away randomly. He was a young 30-something-year-old person. So the network had nowhere to go with the series. So the whole project fell apart. So I got depressed from that. I gained a lot of weight. I wasn't really in that space to, go to auditions or anything like that. So I resorted to what my father did, what we grew up doing. My father had a business where he did upholstery and refinishing furniture. So growing up, I was always in the shop with him. I knew how to fix furniture. I knew how to strip furniture, do upholstery. So at that point, I needed to take care of myself. I needed to pay bills. So I got into the furniture repair business. And then I started my own service company where I would fix furniture for stores, whether it was Bob's Furniture, Macy's, Ethan Allen. And that was my bread and butter. And I had a son at 25 and 26, and I had to, I had to fend for him. I had to put food on the table. So that was my bread and butter, was fixing furniture. Thanks to my father, who everything that I did was connected to him. He taught me how to fix furniture for about 10, 12 years. That's what I did to feed my family. And And I think it was 2011 or 2010, a friend of mine asked me, he said, listen, I'm starting this little internet radio station, and I would love for you to host a show, talk about pop culture, music, hip hop, whatever you want to do. But it was a hobby. I wasn't getting paid for it. I was living in New Jersey. I grew up in Brooklyn. At this point, I was living in New Jersey. So I would go to this little office. I grabbed one of my friends who was a close friend of mine, who was a hip hop artist. I said, hey, let's go to this guy's internet station. Let's just do a show for fun. No money. There might have been 10 people listening to the show. There was nobody listening. But I kind of fell in love with talking to people, right? On an internet airwave. But I caught myself talking about boxing and sports. And then Zab Judah, who I grew up with in the gym, and he's probably a catalyst as to why I even went in this direction. Because again, I never dreamed of being a boxing analyst, broadcaster, host, any of that. I knew I had a burning desire for boxing somehow. I didn't know what guy was going to put in front of me. But what happened was Zab was fighting Lucas Matisse at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. I don't know if you remember that fight, right?
Oh, yeah, I remember it well. Yes.
Yeah, Lucas Matisse was a knockout artist at the time. Mm-hmm. So I had an idea. I told my buddy, his name is Salim Hitchcock, I said, Hitch, Zab is fighting in Jersey. Why don't we try to get him and Lucas Matisse on our show? Now, that task was pretty hard because remember, we had a small platform. It wasn't big. Nobody knew about us. I had the relationship with Zab, which was a plus because we grew up in the same gym together. So what we did was, and a lot of people don't know this, there was a bar called The Spot right by the Prudential Center. So me and Hitch spent our own money. We put a red carpet, a step and repeat. We hired like 10 photographers to come. So, because we wanted to do a live broadcast at the bar. So when we reached out to main events, we said, yeah, this is a big show. A lot of people listening. And I'm sorry to let you guys know at the time, there wasn't that many listening. I'm revealing something new now. But when they brought Zab Judah into the bar, all you saw was flashing lights, cameras. So it looked like there was a lot of boxing media there. In reality, it was just a lot of photographers I paid to be there. But this was I wanted it to look like something big, right? Yes. I didn't know it was going to come from this. I didn't invite any media. But the next day, we did the interview at the bar. Great conversation. The next day, a friend of mine sends me a link to an article on a boxing website that said some new host named AK Reyes interviews Zab Judah. And I'm reading this. I'm like, what the hell? So that was a light that sparked the idea, like maybe I can interview boxers. Now, from that point to when I haven't made any money, it was a long time, like 6 years. Right. So that's when the journey started of me going to fights, trying to get media credentials, trying to be present, just be in the mix, right? Going to press conferences, trying to be the one to ask the best question at the press conference, trying to be noticed. And it wasn't easy. I would go to Vegas on my own dime, pay for hotel on my own dime. And then Barack was somebody that I've known since I was 14 years old. We grew up in the same neighborhood in Brooklyn. So we ran into each other when I was just starting this business. And Barack was like, hey, I love boxing as well. I want to get involved. I said, yo, we need a cameraman. We need a photographer. He bought a camera next day, came ready, and we started just winging it, going to fights, recording stuff, just grinding. You know, when people say grind mode, that's what we were in. And in 2015, I'm writing a book called Passion Over Pension that should be out, God willing, in 2017. It's going to tell all the details of this story. But in 2015 is when we first got the opportunity to host a national radio show on Sirius XM. Okay. And then we finally got paid, very little money, finally got paid to talk boxing on a national airwave 1 day a week. And that's what started it all. From there, 2018, the zone came. And They said, we want to do whatever you're doing at this is because we worked with 50 Cent for 2 years. I give 50 Cent a lot of credit because he gave us a platform to do a boxing show on there. And that was the first time people could actually see us. They could see it was a video show. And when his own launched in America, they said, whatever you guys are doing there, we need you to do it here. We want you to host our flagship show. And the rest is history, bro. That's when we signed to his own in 2018.
Right. But one of the things that I've often said, and you certainly have validated that by your story, life is really about opportunity and exposure.
Yeah.
And sometimes that opportunity comes out of nowhere. Or maybe, God willing, that's what was meant for you.
Right.
You know? And so, we actually are in a position a lot like you, because one of the reasons why Kenny and I wanted to do this podcast was we wanted to bring the audience, the fan, into the ring, literally into the ring, and view this boxing game not as a fan, but as a referee. To see the fight the way that we see it. Much like you, what we really want to do is give something back, because the game has been very good to us. So it's about paying something back. And that's what we do.
Yeah, and I've seen what you guys done so far, and you're doing a phenomenal job of it. And I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but I think you guys are the first of, I don't know any other referees that were at your level to be doing anything like this. Am I right?
That's as far as we know. As far as we know. Yes, as far as we know. Yeah. But Kenny and I are very focused on this, because if you understand something, you can appreciate it better. And so if we can bring a better understanding of this game, then people are going to appreciate it more. And they're going to understand it a lot better, and understanding something better quite often will make it much more palatable for you. So that's where we're coming from in this. And it's just wonderful to know that there are people like you out there that are pretty much on that same mission.
Yeah, 100%. You know, we just want to give. We don't only want to cater to the existing hardcore boxing fans, but we want to bring new people to the sport, right? New
very much so
fans, and the way you do that is by them helping them understand the sport better, appreciate the sport better, and I think that we're getting there. I think that we're in an era of new fans coming to the sport for sure.
Yeah. And we're blessed. I mean, just me and the Birdman sitting here doing this interview with you, we're blessed, because there's been no training here. We just we just jumped in the sack and started making it happen. So we're more than thankful. But you had mentioned earlier about our last meeting, which was at the International Boxing Hall of Fame, which was a very special moment for me, because that's when I was inducted. And
congratulations on that again.
Oh yeah, thank you, sir. And you interviewed me along with Roy Jones Jr. And I don't know if you could tell, but I was as high as a kite without drugs that weekend. I mean, I was floating on a cloud the 4 days that I was there. It was just a wonderful time. It was just great for the work that I had done over the years, that I'm being recognized and being inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Listen, it was fantastic.
That's the holy grail. I mean, that's it, right? Like, it doesn't get any higher than that. So I can imagine, bro. Hey, listen, Kenny, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I just started thinking about this recently, that I never imagined even thinking. I never imagined that I would even get to the point where I would think about something like this. But now I'm seeing it be a reality. I can see, I'm a young man, and 20, 30 years, I want to be up there in Canastota and respected. If I can be acknowledged for the work that I put into this sport, it would be the biggest honor. So I can't even imagine what you're going through.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that the hall over the course of the last, say, 10 years has expanded quite a bit. Expanded a number of categories. And so what your wish is and what your dream is very possible.
Yes, exactly.
Definitely possible down the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. God willing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We'll see. I still got a lot to accomplish, but I'm on that journey though, you know?
Yeah.
As are we.
Well, I want to give a few predictions now. You got some fights coming up and we've had both of them on the show, Shakur Stevenson and Teo Lopez, and both of them we loved having them because they both were very respectful. They spoke from the heart, and I asked you, Birdman, what if you could consistently stay in top shape?
I like that.
And we know that inflammation and injury is 90% about stress. What if you could see stress building in your cells before it promotes an injury? What if you could optimize recovery at the cellular level and identify the exact frequencies your body needs to perform at its absolute peak?
Huh? Well, I understand there's this Dr. Luba Deniger. And she's a former NASA researcher and pioneer in frequency medicine. And she reveals how AI-powered bioresonance technology can revolutionize athletic performance and recovery. From keeping performance at your all-time high to preventing career-ending injuries and seriously cutting recovery time. Now, the Monicor device can change the game for elite athletes. This is the future of peak performance, and it's available today. And if you mention the official call, you also can get a discount.
Hey, because you're there, and what would be your prediction? What do you think the outcome of that fight would be?
So I'm going to be honest with you. In most cases, I do get predictions, but when it comes to certain fighters, right? So we become really close with Shakur over the years because we're close friends with Terrence Crawford, and that's his little brother. And then Teofimo is from Brooklyn, a city that we're from, and we've also kind of adopted him as a brother, so to speak. So when it comes to fights like this, it's tough for me to predict because I have a close relationship with both fighters, right? I think it's one of the best matchups. I mean, it was the same thing with Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, but we're closer to Terrence, so I made a pick on that one. But in this situation, I don't want to do so. I think Shakur has proven that he is probably the most skilled boxer in all of boxing, right? I think Teofimo has shown he's one of the most elusive, skilled boxer punchers, meaning he's very unpredictable in that ring, right? Because of his movements, right? He's explosive. He also has high-level skill, decorated amateur as well. So I don't undermine his skill level. I think that, I know that Shakur is just a master at distance, right? We all know that. I mean, you guys know better than anybody being in that ring. When you control that distance, you control the fight in most cases, right? Because if you're not in the line of fire, you're not going to get hit. Because Shakur, sometimes he doesn't get hit, one punch in certain rounds. So I think that it's a hard fight for Teofimo. But if anybody has the speed and explosiveness to catch Shakur in one of those exchanges, right, where he's bouncing in and out, it is Teofimo Lopez. So I think it's a very, very competitive fight. And don't get me wrong, Shakur knows what he's up against. Shakur knows what he's up against. So this is one of the best matchups in all of boxing. One of the best matchups in all of boxing. So this is what we want as fight fans, like the best fighting the best. I hate to sound cliche, but we don't always get that. This is
No.
it right here.
Well, the wonderful thing about this is that, in our opinion, and certainly my opinion, boxing over the past year, except for a couple of fights last year, obviously Canelo Crawford being one of them, boxing's on the decline. And boxing in the United States is on the decline. In Europe, really a big resurgence. Some of the best heavyweights, not some, the best heavyweights now are in Europe. And one of the fights that they're talking about that I think will help this resurgence is the proposed fight between Joshua and Tyson Fury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I mean, obviously that fight I've covered. I worked on Joshua fights in London, working with DAZN, and he's a mega star over there, and so is Fury. So this would probably be the biggest fight that the UK has ever seen in terms of just popularity. We're living in an era. I know people say boxing is declining, but because there's so many outlets for people to consume boxing on social media, streaming platforms, believe it or not, there are more eyeballs on boxing now than ever before. But to your point, the heavyweight's been across the pond, right, for so long.
Yeah.
The Klitschko's reigned for a while. You know, we had our era with Tyson, Holyfield, Bo, but it's been over there for a while, right? And Wilder had his run, but I think, in my opinion, he never reached that pinnacle, that Mike Tyson status. You know, that mega superstar, right? Right. But he did what, you know, he reigned with the WC for a while, so I give a lot of credit to Wilder. But I think this is probably gonna be the biggest heavyweight fight that we've seen, man, in a long time. You know, since the whole Bo Holyfield days, you know, Lewis Tyson. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say, because even though people feel and Tyson does have more quote unquote boxing ability, right? More elusive in that ring. He's obviously a very big man, you know, so hard to deal with. But I honestly, I don't particularly love the way Fury has looked lately, right? In his last few outings. I think he showed vulnerability. Obviously, we saw the Ngannou thing, but and with Usyk, I think AJ, you know, considering what he's just gone through, losing his best friends and his two close friends, which is very unfortunate. I've also developed a relationship with AJ over the years. He's a very, very good man, and I can't imagine what he's going through. He has to go through this grief first, right? And deal with it in the best way he knows how. Maybe he uses that as fuel, right? And uses that as motivation to want to accomplish more, and maybe in honor of his, you know, friends that died right next to him. And maybe we get this resurgence and this version of AJ that is going to go into that ring and win by any means necessary, right? Yeah. So I'm going to make a prediction and say, if that fight happens, I say AJ knocks Tyson Fury out.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
It's a bold prediction. It's a bold prediction.
Yes. Well, and I don't argue with you too strenuously about that. The only question that I would have, and since I'm still active, I don't make any predictions, but the only thing against Joshua hasn't been his strategy, his tactics, his skill. The only question about Joshua has always been it's the jaw, because that is one muscle that you can't develop.
Well, okay? I'll say this about that. I want to interject about that. So, if you remember when Anthony Joshua fought the great Vladimir Klitschko, the heavyweight legend, who, in my opinion, that was a great version of Klitschko, who was bouncy, his jab was snapping, he was a strong, you know, because those guys, they're solid. They live their whole life, you know, protecting their body. So people like to say he was 39, 40 years old. I don't care what you say. That was a hell of a version of Klitschko. Joshua got clipped in the 5th round. What did he do? He got up, right? And he finished Klitschko in the 11th round, right? Yeah. I know he got surprised by Andy Ruiz, but he got up every time, in that fight, and he got stopped eventually. Yes. But to me, when you're fighting guys that are upwards of 250 pounds and higher, all those guys are going to have a glass jaw. If you get clipped by one of those guys, I don't care who you are, you're going to be hurt. You're going to be hurt if you get clipped by a heavyweight. So when it comes to heavyweights, I don't like to use that glass jaw thing, especially when a guy gets up after being knocked down. Now, yes, he can be hurt. Yes. We also saw Fury go down, right? We also saw Wilder put him down. We also saw Ngannou put him down, who AJ punished and put to sleep, right? So when it comes to that, I chalk that up to being in the heavyweight division and fighting very, very big men. I've seen AJ get hit with shots against Povetkin and eat them and stop Povetkin. I've seen him get hit with shots by Usyk and not go down. So AJ's jaw is not as weak as people think. Yes, he can be hurt if he gets hit at the right. Yes, Dubois caught him at the right time. I don't think that was a great version of AJ. Nevertheless, we're talking about heavyweights, guys. These guys are hard. You know what I'm saying?
They hit hard.
Hey, by the way, did you see, even though Jake Paul's not an experienced boxer, he wailed a looping right hand and AJ ate that like it was a snack. Put it out and kept moving. So my boy got somewhat of a chin, all right?
Okay, so this is what I want to say, all right? I think you're a little passionate about this.
Very much so. Very much so.
I'm loving it.
Absolutely, and I like AJ. So I just wanted to give you an objective opinion on that.
Yeah. Well, another opinion we'd like for you to give us, a fight that's coming up with Ryan Garcia against Mario Barrios. What do you think about that one?
Hey, listen, I'm headed in a couple of days to LA to be at the press conference for that one. I think Ryan didn't show the best version of himself against Rolly Romero, right? We all know that. He didn't pull the trigger. He got dropped early, didn't pull the trigger. He was a heavy favorite in that fight. And if you remember, after Ryan lost the Tank, we saw the version of him against Devin Haney, which was, surprising because he was also an underdog in that fight, right? So maybe this loss against Rolly is going to give him a newfound motivation. I think he's a better fighter than Barrios, even though Barrios is tough. No disrespect to him. I think 100% Ryan Garcia beats Mario Barrios, and he might even be the guy to stop him in this division at 147.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Last question.
Sure.
Mark, where do you see combat sports boxing headed in the future?
I think that boxing isn't going anywhere. Obviously, we all think that boxing is the greatest sport in the world, right? But because of the new channels of consumption, when it comes to social media, boxers can become more popular on social media. You don't have to, there was a point in time where the only time people would know you if you were on the David Letterman show or the Jay Leno show, guys like Mike Tyson and Sugar Ray Leonard, right? If you had a Wheaties commercial is when the world would know you because they'd see you on a box of Wheaties, right? Because guess what? These things right here didn't exist. Social media didn't exist.
Right.
So now a viral clip, I'll give you a quick example. A good friend of mine who became world champion, his name was Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer had 4 losses, and what made Tevin Farmer popular and what brought awareness to his skill level was Instagram. He had this one clip, a reel of him showing his defense and skill in the ring. Nobody knew who Tevin was, but he would send that to everybody to repost. That clip went viral, and guess what? It eventually landed him some fights and got him a deal with Matchroom Boxing, and he became world champion. So point being is that social media and these devices and technology are giving opportunities to fighters to become more recognized, more popular, and create opportunities. So I don't think boxing is going anywhere. I think we're going to see a lot of stars. I think that boxing will soon see another big heavyweight star. I don't know who that is yet, but we will see it soon enough.
To finish, to our boxing fans, I want to say, and to my co-host, the Birdman, we want to thank you for tuning in. And again, we want to thank AK for coming on the show. We love you, brother. And we definitely hope to see you in the future.
We'll see you soon.
We'll wish you a lot of continued success. And hopefully somewhere down the line, you can help us out.
Yes.
We'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. That's no question about that. I would be honored to help you guys out. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a great conversation. Looking forward to seeing you guys soon.